Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Software Engineer K here, and we have some pretty cool stuff. So I have been extremely busy the past week, which is why I have not uploaded much, but I should be uploading again more regularly. So without further ado, we will go straight into it. Now, first off, we have been seeing some interesting market movement. We've been seeing a lot of money being moved into what has been coined blue chip NFTs. I kind of like using the word grail just because that's associated more with collectibles, but whatever you want to call them, these kind of top tier NFTs that people are essentially, feeling are going to retain the most value. If you're into crypto, then just consider these the kind of Bitcoin of NFTs within VeVe. So first off, we have been seeing a lot of money moving into them, but the way that I tend to play is I tend to kind of avoid what everyone's, focusing on at the time. I tend to go more for things that I believe are going to have value later on and just stack up on that and then just wait. And that for me has worked out quite well in everything I've done. So the main thing that I'm kind of going at, and this is, I think more people are starting to pick up on it, is Frank Kozik stuff, the Labbit specifically. And today, Frank Kozik, he put out a tweet saying 8+ drops in 2022. And his hashtags are quite interesting as well. VeVe fam, so, it's obviously going to be on VeVe. He's referring to this on VeVe. XK5, I'm going to go to that in a second. Labbit, VeVe collectibles, breeding, and much more. And, someone said 8 drops, is that a bit too much? And then Frank Kozik said, just for that, I'll make it 16 drops. So, I am personally, in terms of my own strategy, I'm looking more at the cheaper Labbits, just because Labbit breeding is going to be a thing. He has said it here in his tweet, but in a previous tweet, he did also say that Labbit breeding is going to come. So that is going to allow you to essentially, it explains in the name, breed more Labbits. How's that going to work in terms of VeVe NFTs? Maybe we'll get, specific airdrops of rarer versions of Labbit. So maybe if you breed a backstab with an elf, you get an elf backstab Labbit, and there's only, 500 editions of those or whatever quantity. Or you could get, another one. Or, they've said that, you could be breeding Labbits for what they describe as meat. I don't know what that's going to do, but maybe it'll have some kind of special utility in the VeVeverse. We'll see how it works, but what we do know is these are going to be kind of like the first NFTs with some kind of gamification mechanic built into them. That in itself is going to be driving a lot of FOMO. So Labbits are really cheap right now. I have started stacking up on, all the low mint Labbits that I can find. But an interesting one, XK5. This is XK5 for anyone who doesn't know. It is basically his kind of Labbit robot things. So the Labbiter, which is pretty cool. And there's a kind of like a little clip here where it, shows it animated and whatnot. And I think that's pretty awesome. These, I think, are going to do extremely well. Just because I think people tend to kind of like the Labbits, but also they like this whole kind of very quirky kind of mecha robot Iron Man sort of theme going on here. So yeah, the Labbiter, it says here, what does XK stand for? It stands for extra kill. Okay, so extra kill 5 Labbits. That's pretty awesome. So these we are probably going to get next year as well, judging by Frank Kozik's hashtag. So that's pretty awesome. Now, sticking on the point of artists, the final drop of the year has been announced. It is the Serial Killer's lithogram. So, people actually believed that this was going to be the airdrop for holding the full set. I believe that as well. I didn't think we'd get a golden Trixie rabbit. I thought we would get this kind of, maybe this as an effect or an NFT, or like they've shown here, this lithogram. So I think, this is pretty awesome. Nice way to end the year. It feels a bit weird to, I don't know, it feels a bit out of place. But again, I'm not going to complain about Serial Killers. I quite like Ron English's stuff. And I've got the full set. Now, in terms of edition size, I think, we know that there are about at least 600-ish people who own the complete, free sets. So anything more than that, I think, it's going to be one of those things that people grab if they want it, they don't. But I think at least the first 666 people, those are definitely going to want it, or, but let's say about 500-ish, let's say 600-ish, because VeVe does keep some of the, golden rabbits behind. But we know from the edition size of that, there were at least 600 people that had completed the full Ron English set. So at least 600 of these are going to be gone straight away and held by those collectors, myself included. But I think this in itself as just a showroom piece is pretty awesome. Price wise, we'll just have to wait and see, but it is going to be a 1 of 1, so I believe it's going to be a standard style drop. because it is a normal drop, I am wondering if they have fixed the issue with the clock, because a lot of people did have the reverse clock gate, so your clock timer just added time at the time of drop. Hopefully they have fixed it for this drop. Otherwise, I'll probably be, I reckon I'd probably hit the secondary market anyway. I don't think I'm going to get it on the drop. But on the other things that I will not get on the drop, most likely, is this Spider-Man number 252. So this comic is an interesting one, because if you look price-wise, a 9.8 is going to cost you about $120. I think that's like the cost of the grading itself. Like, this is just to put it, bluntly, is not a very valuable comic at all. But that being said, could we see it go for a lot more on VeVe? Yes, absolutely, because it is going to be the rarest comic on VeVe and the second scarcest collectible after the James Bond ticket. So specifically the secret rare for this. Now, what does that mean? Well, I believe the secret rare is going to be potentially the most valuable comic. I think it's going to compete with, if not beat, the Marvel's number 1 secret rare. Even though this comic in real life is not very valuable at all, it's going to be an interesting experiment, just like VeVe said, to see what is more important, content or scarcity. Now, that being said, I think, yes, scarcity is going to be pretty important. But the Marvel's number 1, it is a valuable comic in real life. But again, people argue that the real life comic doesn't really have much of an effect on the NFTs. So we're going to see, as an experiment, which one is right. Is it content that matters or scarcity? And if this can beat the price of the Marvel's number 1, then, clearly scarcity is more important than what we believe it to be. But, it is 1,000 editions, so I believe they have about 100,000 people going for the drop, so your chance of getting even one of these is about 1%. If you get this, secret rare, then yes, 0.004% chance. Very low. But we'll see what happens. I am pretty excited to see just what comes of this comic. I'm going to try and get a common if I can, just because I want at least one of every comic. That's just like what I do. I think one common is probably going to go for about, because it's 425 editions, it is of a fairly useless comic, but 425 editions, I believe it's going to go for around about, 500 gems for the common. That's about the price of, most secret rares, apart from the really, really unknown one that people don't care about. Those go for about 350. But I think 500 is going to be a fairly reasonable ask price on the common. So I'll see if I can pick one up. Common looks pretty, it covered up, the art does look pretty decent. So I'll see if I get it. Now, lastly is the price of OMI for today. So the market is on a dip right now, but previously we had this key point of resistance at 0.67 cents. And, without the dip, I feel like we would be pretty much bouncing above it. But we are pretty much bouncing in this upper range now. And we have been doing so for a little while. Now, if I get a trend line and if I just draw this across here, we can see that, okay. And if we just extend this a bit more here. Okay, so we can see that this trend line does kind of intersect here with this key point of resistance at 0.67, and this date matches up around about the 7th of January. And I say that, yeah, technicals, they're one thing that you can use, but usually with historical events, technicals do eventually line up. And I think what this is going to happen is we're going to get a breakout around about this point, this early January point, first week of January, because we have the OMI migration happening in the kind of early New Year's, January time when they're back. I believe it's going to be after the 4th when everyone is back at work on the VeVe side. And, they said that they wanted to do the migration for OMI around about that time. And I think that is exactly where these technicals are going to line up. So where do I actually see OMI going? Well, I stand by my conviction that the next key point of support will be this 0.8 cent range, and we will peak at a 1 cent. So when OMI is migrated over to Ethereum, I believe we are going to be now moving away from this kind of 0.5 to 0.7 range, and we're now going to be bouncing around in a 0.8 to 1 cent range. So where is my prediction for next year? Well, assuming VeVe does everything well, they release the VeVeVerse, we get some good burning, buybacks come back in play, we get more drops, etc. I feel like we could be bouncing between the 1.5 to 2 cent range. Now that for some people might sound very low, but you have to remember that a lot of people predicted we'd be at 5 cents by the end of the year. I had downsized my prediction to 1 cent and we didn't even hit that. I believe we probably could have reached it if we did do the OMI migration this year, but they've pushed it to next year, so we'll see if that does happen, the 1 cent range. But we have to remember that there are a lot of very, very, let's just say, whales in OMI. We knew this from the start. OMI is a very top heavy project right now. Yes, OMI has been distributing from top wallets down to the lower wallets over time, but we're going to have to wait and see for those big top tier exchanges where OMI distributes more. But those whales are going to be taking profit. So I don't see us hitting 10 cents next year or $1 next year, the kind of crazy level prices. But I do believe we will see some whales taking profit. Even with them taking profit, we will inch towards that 2 cent range. And 2 cent OMI price next year, I think would be pretty good. That's a 3x from where we are right now. In most kind of, non-crypto things, a 3x is pretty great, pretty insane. So that's where I believe we're going to be going. Now, if we go above that, even better. But I tend to be more conservative. I think, around about the 2 cent range is a fairly good point. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to go through with you guys today. I will be on a live stream tomorrow with Gibby. So we're going to be discussing some, very, very key content topics with myself, Daniel Lee, some other people. That stuff is all on Twitter, so do check that out. Tune in tomorrow. I believe it's going to be at 3 p.m. EST. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to go through with you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. Have a happy new year. I will see you guys next year. And yeah, see ya.